Welcome to This Endorian Life, a Star Wars podcast from the Radio Meanwhile Network. My name is Steve Rudd.
I'm Nick Gunning, and we've been following the Ewoks throughout their storied history, but this time our journey through Star Wars vintage brings us back once again to Droids, the animated series.
Droids. Today we're discussing
Droids.
the feature-length collection, The Pirate and the Prince, comprising the episodes The Lost Prince, The New King, The Pirates of Taranuga, and The Revenge of Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren.
Ha!
Yeah.
Oh, that old scallywag.
That's right. All of these episodes were directed by Raymond J. Felice and written by Peter Sauter. These episodes originally aired in consecutive weeks from October 5th to October 26th, 1985. The film version, which is how I watched it, was released on VHS in 1997 and again on DVD in 2004. And so this movie-length version of it, we don't have like the weird police opening credits. It's more just like instrumental, and it puts the shows kind of seamlessly together. I think it does that by cutting out some tags at the end and stuff. So I did check out this DVD from the library, and I watched it as a whole movie. Did you do that, or did you put the episodes together on?
I strung the episodes together. So when you said
Okay.
that there's just a weird instrumentals, for me it was Sting every
Just
single time.
totally the same for
Just
you. Okay.
Yep, it was just episode,
Yeah.
episode, 4 of them.
I do feel like these episodes worked really well together, like watching it as a movie, like watching it movie like no breaks or anything and making it pretty seamless. You could still kind of tell when it was like, okay, that feels like sort of this would have been the end of an episode and now we're moving into a new one. But I found the viewing experience of watching it as a movie rather than 4 episodes of sequential like TV. It worked better as a whole. How did you feel about doing these in a lump instead of doing it week by week like we were doing before?
The lump was better.
I feel like this arc and the whole like the stakes of them like trying to get this royalty back home and stuff was a lot better than watching a bunch of like rat-tailed men trying to race. It's just this is a more interesting.
I wonder if it would have been better if we did watch that as a 4 segment. Well, no, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean I think
Like,
it would, but I
probably
still
a
think
little better. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. The stories from that from those first 4 episodes was just not really like, I don't know. It just wasn't really interesting or compelling.
No, and I did feel better about this one all around. So that's a little bit of a spoiler, but I definitely did. All right, let's see. What else do I have for you? Well, I've got a featured cast member. Well, Tabora Johnson voices Jessica Mead for a total of 5 episodes. What a name. Jessica.
I know.
Jessica.
Well, I mean, we get like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke.
We do. Jessica just stood out to me, but I kind of wondered if maybe it was sort of Dune inspired, because it's the
Jessica,
whole
Lady Jessica,
the Lady Jessica. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, she voices Jessica for 5 episodes in here, and aside from serving as the voice of Latara in the first season of Ewoks, she appeared in live action as Lois Johnson in the Canadian sitcom Kim's Convenience. Did you watch Kim's Convenience?
I most certainly did not.
It's so funny.
Is it really?
Yeah. During like the pandemic 2020, that was like my binge show.
Kim's Convenience. I
Kim's
know.
Convenience, yeah, it's based on a play.
Unbreakable Kimmy
It's just really
Schmidt.
funny.
That's the only Kim I know.
Yeah, different Kim. All right. Well, do you want to take us through The Pirate and the Prince?
The uber detailed plot of Star Wars Droids Season 1, Episodes 5 through 8, aka The Pirate and the Prince. C-3PO and R2-D2 have fallen on tough times, trying jobs, and are traded at a backworld auction to Jan Tosh. Meanwhile, the local crime lord, Kleb Zelak, has also been tasked with retrieving Monjulpa before IG-88, as there is a price on his head. Jan also saves what he thinks is an android, but ends up being a nameless and speechless alien, which they name Kez Iban, which in Bocce, he that returns from death. Returning to town, Kez is captured by Kleb. Jan and the droids confront Kleb, and they are all captured, despite Jessica Mead trying to help them and brought to Kleb's Nurgon 14 mining operation. A friend of Keziban attempts to rescue everyone, and we then find out that Keziban is actually Monjulpa, a lost, usurped prince of Tamuzan. His memory and speech are now restored through his scepter. With Nergon gas leaking, the group races to escape the mine. They procure Kleb's speeder before he can leave and get away before the mine explodes. On their way to Tamuzan, Monjolpa hopes they get there before his usurper, Zadok Cha, an evil vizier, can be coronated as king. Meanwhile, IG-88 is also headed to Tamuzan to intercept Monjolpa and his scepter and give it to Zadok Cha, who needs it to become king. They are attacked en route by pirate captain Gur Kaibo Ren Cha, but still manage to escape when IG-88 interrupts their plans to destroy them, needing Jolpa alive. All on Tamuzan is not safe, however. Now alone, Mon Jolpa is taken by IG-88. R2 and 3PO discover Jessica and Solag, Jolpa's aide, have been taken to Zadok's fortress. Jan, 3PO, and R2 race to the fortress to rescue Jolpa, Solag, and Jessica. Zedek puts Jolpa in his Durkee's pit in hopes it tears him apart. Jan, R2, and 3PO make their way into the pit as well, accidentally. R2 saves the day, and the group races after Zedek, who escapes on a speeder. With only moments left, Jolpa manages to retrieve the scepter from Zadok and is successfully coronated as King of Tamuzan. Jan is also made advisor to Jolpa, and Jessica gets a new ship. In orbit of Tamuzan, the dread pirate Gur Kaibo Rencha attacks and boards Jessica's ship carrying fuel. Their decoy failed. The pirates take them to their hideout, which is host to a massive fleet of ships seemingly ready for an assault. Ren illustrates his plan to take the now defenseless Tamuzan. As entertainment, Ren tries to feed Jan to a massive Miradon sea creature, but is saved by R2. Meanwhile, Ren tells Jessica of his plan to use the Demolisher on Tamuzan, and she successfully escapes Ren. R2, this is why you don't ever give your plans, because when you do, they're going to escape.
Yeah, it's a potential for a backfiring situation for sure.
Yeah, always. R2 sabotages the hideout's defenses, allowing the Miradon into the base, and in the chaos, the group escapes. Kaibo Ren activates his forces to attack Tamuzan immediately. In orbit, they are captured again by Ren's Demolisher, an Imperial Star Destroyer. R2, put to work, manages to sabotage several detonators. Meanwhile, Ren attacks Jessica's ship, destroying it, and is furious to find out that he was duped all along. Jessica was the decoy, and he mistakenly let the fuel ship through to Tamuzan. Jolpa has a fully fueled fleet, though it is no match for Ren's destroyer, but the playing field is leveled when the destroyer's torpedoes backfire on Ren, incapacitating his destroyer. Ren is defeated, and Tamuzan is saved. A peace treaty is to be signed between King Jolpa and the warrior chieftain Lord Toda. Toda is reluctant, but his daughter, Garen, advises to proceed with peace and catches the eye of Jolpa. Tensions high, 3PO manages to lighten the mood by crashing the party. Literally. Kaibo Ren escapes Jolpa's prison at the hand of his first mate, Jin Oba. Incapacitating Jolpa and Jan, Ren kidnaps Princess Jaren, leaving Jin behind. Toda is furious, and Jolpa surrenders himself until Jessica and Jan can save Jaren. 3PO and R2 dupe Jin into divulging where they took Jaren. Meanwhile, Kaibo, Jolpa, and Toda have struck a deal to release Kaibo's men in exchange for Jaren. Jaren manages to escape her cell while the gang works on infiltrating Kaibo's swamp base to rescue her. Out of the frying pan and into the fire, Jaren staves off wild dogs. Jan and 3PO find her stranded in a pit, and 3PO sacrifices himself to try and save Jaren. Kaibo demands more in return for Jaren, and Toda agrees to give him Monjolpa, his ship, and his men. The group's hopes of escaping are thwarted when Jin arrives with Kaibo's ship and crew. Though it's a trap, as the ship is also full of Toda's warriors, they successfully defeat Kaibo Ren and his pirates. Toda's son asks 3PO how he defeated Kaibo Ren all by himself, and he tells him he had luck on his side. Well, friends, actually. The best luck of all. Roll credits.
Heartwarming. Heartwarming. You know,
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Kybo Ren is a pretty cool name. Too bad it's just used in this one episode and never anything like that ever again, you know?
Yeah, nothing. There's
Too
nothing
too bad. Too
similar
bad,
to
'cause it's
Kybo
cool.
Ren.
I just
It's
think,
pretty cool.
you know,
Would
if they
be cool if
decided
they used it in the
down
future
the
and they
road.
decided,
Yeah, yeah, I
and they're
agree,
like,
but
yeah.
oh well.
Oh, the red accent on the ties, that'd be cool too.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
that was
would
a
be.
nice
I
touch,
know,
but
it'd be kinda nice,
yeah, it's
but
too bad they don't,
never gonna happen.
you
It's never
know.
gonna
Oh,
happen.
Jin Oba's goggles,
Uh-huh.
that,
Yeah. Yep,
if
we'll never
only
see it
like
again.
a young scavenger in the
Yeah,
years in the future were to use something similar,
something
that would be,
similar to those.
yeah.
You know, the diner and, like, the four-armed cook and everything, a lot of things very reminiscent of the prequels
Yes, the
also.
prequels. Yeah.
So, I know that there was some, like, like, people who worked on these ended up working on the prequels as well, so I do think there's definitely some purpose pulling in that direction. I don't know if they're pulling anything for the sequel trilogy, who knows? But,
I
it's
mean,
interesting to note.
Kybo Ren, I mean, look, Kylo Ren, Kybo Ren, that's like I had no idea about this character. And when I saw his name was Kybo Ren, I was just like, are you freaking kidding me?
You don't think
Like,
it's a coincidence? They're
n-
just so different.
it's not a coincidence. No,
You don't think
somebody was
so?
like, Kylo Ren.
Hmm.
Yeah, they were like, oh, we need a name for this guy. And somebody was like, ooh, Kybo Rencha from Droids. Oh,
I don't know. It is definitely of note. I will say, as I kind of gave away at the top here, I feel
mm,
like this story is just better.
it's just better. Yeah, it
As
really
I'm
is.
going down, like, making notes through this, and, like, I was looking over them before we started, and most of my notes are positive, you know, they're just like, "Oh, that was cool.
Mhm.
That was cool." So, I feel like as a package, I mean, it benefits because we saw a whole arc play out. But again, I just think all the characters are better. Like, Jan and Jessica are just more interesting than I don't even remember their names. The Rat Tail people from, the beginning. You
Yeah,
know,
what are they? Yeah, it's
the
Joe.
villains are
No,
better.
but I can't remember the
I
names.
can't remember them.
I have been this is so
I
embarrassing.
can't remember them at
What
all.
are they? Bo I don't
I
know,
can't.
something with a B or a J? I don't know, I can't
No
remember
idea.
either.
No idea.
It's
So, yeah,
I'm gonna
I
lay down tonight and I'm gonna remember
you
in bed
probably you'll wake up, like, text me at 3 a.m. and tell me
in
what
a
their names are.
cold sweat. I'm gonna be like,
Yeah, I
I
got
remember
it.
the names.
I got
Eureka!
it. Anyway, I mean, but you agree? I mean, this just felt like a better vibe.
I did. There were elements that I was like,
Thal Jobin.
Thal Jobin, that's Thal,
There
that's
it is.
right,
You said
Thal.
a B.
Yep,
You said there was a
and
B,
there
so
was a
you're
B
thinking of
in
that
there
B. Yeah,
somewhere.
and Kea, it was Thal Jobin and Kea. Okay, okay.
Kea,
Sorry, sorry,
yep,
sorry. But anyway,
Kea,
you were saying
Thal, Jobin.
some things were better.
I thought the addition of Lord Toda in the last episode was a little bit weird.
I stand by wishing that Boba Fett was just a recurring antagonist here. I think that
Yeah,
would
that
be
would be,
so
like, really cool if it
he's
was.
right
I thought it was
there.
cool that IG-88 had a
That
part,
was
like,
cool. That was cool.
that was
I mean,
nice.
Max Rebo, come on. We saw Max Rebo,
Oh, we did
so
see
how
Max
can you
Rebo and that
yeah,
weirdo singing lady that has a
yeah.
name.
That's
That
right. Yeah.
we saw Gamorrean Guard, that was pretty
Yeah,
cool
yeah,
too. So
yeah,
that was nice. I think you're right. I think overall, this had a little bit more of a compelling story. I cared a little bit more about what was going on. It
yeah,
was entertaining,
yeah.
you know?
There's that part early on where C-3PO, they're all, like, chained by the ankle, and C-3PO disconnects, like, his bottom, like, his calf, basically, and I
Yeah.
kinda thought, "Oh, are they gonna give him the silver leg after this?" But they didn't, and that would have been a
No,
cool little Easter
that
egg
would have
right
been
there,
cool.
that he's
You know,
gotta get a new leg, but,
you made me think of something. There was very little droids in this four episode segment. Did you notice
I
that?
think
That
I think that's fair, but I think that what they had to do was actually integral to the plot.
Oh,
So it was
absolutely. I mean, like,
it was like they got
C-3PO does save the day,
definitely.
technically.
Like,
Yeah.
they got less screen time maybe, but, like, they were actually used like they should be used, you know what I mean? So,
R2-D2 was, yeah. You know how
yeah,
many
but I
ports
think
he
that's
accessed this time? Like,
exactly.
it's like,
But I
that's
think,
3
like,
that's I mean, that's R2, that's what he does.
therein lies the problem when you create a show around 2 characters and then treat them as supporting characters, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it's just always gonna be a problem with this show that they're not the leads, and, like, we want them to be the leads. They're the ones that we're connected to, so
Yeah.
that's just a little odd. But, you know, I thought there were a lot of cool moments. I thought the part where they're, like, crawling through that space, and they accidentally step on the trigger, and the walls start closing in on them, and they're like,
Oh, yeah.
find the button," was so Temple of Doom. I
Yeah.
loved that. You know what I mean? Like
It
when
was like a
Short Round and
button on the
Indiana Jones,
floor
there's
did it.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly, and he's like,
And
"Press
they were
the
like, "Oh, I
button," you know?
found it." And then it like, yeah.
Yeah,
Wait, what was it? It was like the ceiling was coming down, and they were like,
yeah,
"Find a button." And then he's
yeah,
like, "Oh, I found it." And then he presses it, but then the walls start going in
yeah,
now, and it's like, "Ah, dang it. Find
yeah,
another button." It's
yeah,
like I thought that was pretty funny that it
so
was just
great.
like, "Oh, I found it." And it just
Yeah,
made it 10 times
yeah,
worse.
I know, so I liked that, I felt like
Pretty
that I don't
good.
know if that was an intentional Temple of Doom nod, but it sure reminded me of it.
Yeah.
I love the A-Wing, like, A-Wings are my favorite. Every time an
Oh,
A-Wing shows up,
yeah.
I love
I
it, so the
love the
fact that,
A-wing.
like, Jan was driving around in the A-Wing for most of the time, I thought was really cool.
Yeah. Did you notice that they were dual cockpit A-wings too, which I thought was really
No.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
they
like
were
the
dual cockpit.
I need one. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
look on
I want
eBay
one.
and get myself one of
A dual
droids.
cockpit
The droids
A-wing.
toys. Yeah. We got space battles, you know? Like, we had, like, some
Yeah.
interesting stuff going on, like, in
Mhm.
space, which, certainly never happened in Ewoks, and what little we had this time, in the first, arc here, didn't really pale, so I liked that a lot. I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Mhm. We had some new interesting class of Star Destroyer. I don't know what that is. Like, I'm not familiar
Okay.
with all the different classes, but, like, it was a pretty small destroyer, like,
The
real
ships yeah,
small destroyer.
they were definitely interesting to look at, and I feel like that's maybe the benefit to them wanting to sell toys based on this, is that they're, like, encouraged to make things that are cool, and
Yeah.
so we're getting some visuals that are more interesting to look at than Ewoks, which the Ewok toys were kinda limited to just, like, action figures and stuff, nothing too huge. Love that underwater scene too, kinda reminded me of the, Kit Fisto underwater, but,
Oh,
like,
it did, yeah.
R2 goes down and, like, zips through the chains that are holding Jan or whatever, and, like, they
Yeah.
escape and, just a cool imagery that I liked.
Isn't that sea creature, the Miradon, it looks to me, when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's the thing that Boba Fett was riding in, The Faithful Wookiee." Don't you think? Wasn't that
Oh,
I think
yeah,
that's pretty much what that
you
looked
might be
like to
right.
me.
Yeah, good catch. We got an R2 scream. I don't think we got an R2 scream in the first one. We
Oh,
got the "Wow!"
wha
which was fun to hear. Yeah,
that one? Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There was a lot of sounds,
definitely.
familiar sounds, and I think
Yeah.
that I like that about Droids, that it does seem more familiar in that aspect,
Yeah, my
you know?
son commented on that. We were watching this together when the blasters and stuff and some of the ship sounds. He was like, "Man, I love these sounds." And I'm like, "Right? They're great."
Yeah,
So, yeah, he liked
oh,
that
that
too.
classic, stun sound, set for
Yeah.
stun, and it's that, like,
Yep.
weird, like, spacey
Yeah.
sound. Yeah,
Yep.
and that I was like, "Ah, yeah, there it is, the
Yeah.
stun." So, yeah, I mean, there was a lot to like. I think
Mhm.
a couple areas where maybe there was, like, nitpicky, like, I don't much like the look of the Monjolpa
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I think that bothered me a little bit.
Watching this one just really struck me as like sci-fi. The
True,
stuff, even like
yeah.
the power struggles and stuff that you're talking about, the ship battles, like all of that. Just this whole series, even the first arc, have a real sci-fi vibe where Ewoks always plays more as fantasy. So in that way, it's kind of
True,
interesting to have these
yeah.
two because these were airing together. Like these
Mhm.
were followed by an Ewok. So it wasn't like this whole sci-fi hour. It was kind of like fantasy, sci-fi, which you
Mhm.
know I think if the shows were good, could have been really interesting, but, I just think as it is, they didn't really find an audience, and so, they maybe didn't get developed as much as they could, but
Yeah.
give me your good. What's good? Give me your Ichiwawa moment.
Man, I really liked seeing the dual cockpit A-wings. That, like, I'm
Yeah,
a
I
big
like
A-wing
A-Wings a
guy
lot.
too. I loved A-wings
Same.
when I was
Yeah,
young. They're the fastest of the, rebel fleet,
yeah,
as far as their starfighters, the Y-wing, B-wing, X-wing, A-wing is that is the fastest one, and I always thought that was really cool. But yeah, I mean, seeing the Gamorrean Guard was like, "Ah, Gamorrean
yeah,
Guard,
yep, I wrote
yeah!"
that
Like,
down too, yeah,
took them way too long to, like, have one of those guys in there, and
yeah,
we had, like, the Gamorrean Guard, Piggy Squeal, and I just thought that was funny, it was kinda like, "Alright, there's, like, elements of the Star Wars saga, like the
yeah,
trilogy in this, right?" Where, like, Ewoks, you're like, "Okay, there's Ewoks," but that is the only pull into the Star Wars universe except
yeah,
for the
that last
finale.
episode, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and so, like, I don't know, I feel like that's a thing you need to have. If your show is a spinoff, you really need to have elements of the
yeah,
original, of what you're spinning off from,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Droids does a better job of that.
Yeah. That's true.
What about you?
Well, you kinda hit on it already. I mean, it's the use of C-3PO and R2-D2, the fact that they were actually given helpful things to do, and the one that really stood
Mm,
out to me was when they're rolling in on the planet and they need to, like they need cover, and C-3PO just starts talking, like, in their language, and he tells them, "Oh, we're ambassadors, and we're just doing this quick thing," and, like,
yeah.
C-3PO just does that all by himself and, like, really gets them in, and that's just one of several times throughout the episode where he's actually helpful and, like, a good character, and so that to me, I was like, "Yes, this is what I want. I wanna see
Is
the droids, like, doing stuff."
isn't there that one part too when he's like, "Chiki ota boda madada," and the guy's like,
Yeah.
"What? That's not even a language."
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was like part of the describe, and I thought, wait a minute. Was it actually a language? Because doesn't he know like six
Yeah, he
million
does.
forms of
He does.
communication? So like for this dumb guy to be like, "Oh, that's not even a language." I wonder, was he actually speaking a language or was he just talking
Just
gibberish to
messing.
confuse
Yeah.
the guy?
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was pretty cool, but, tell me something that you didn't like. What's your Okavark moment?
I did not like Jan Tosh's uncle, which I cannot remember
Oh,
his name.
yeah.
Uncle,
Yeah.
the minor dude. Sometimes you know what's funny? One thing in The Mandalorian that really pissed me off in season 3 was when they made the pirate lord like a pirate, like a sea pirate,
Mm.
but in space. Like he
Yeah.
had seaweed hanging, like a seaweed
They were
beard,
very
like,
piratey, yeah.
and they were like Pirates of the Caribbean pirate, and it's just like,
Right.
yo, that's not
Yeah.
what pirate
Yeah.
means. And
There's
so like
different
when
kinds.
and it's like they still haven't learned. They haven't learned. So like when they create characters like, oh, Uncle, whatever his name is a miner. They made him like he was a California gold rush fat miner, like in Toy Story, like that
It's
guy, Toy Story
yeah, it's
2 or
Kelsey Grammer.
whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, dude, we get it. He's a miner. He doesn't need to be like, oh, gotta get that golden mine,
Yeah.
gotta get out there early in the morning and start panning,
No,
and
that's
it's
how
just like,
miners are, so
stop. Like, we get, but I mean, it's for kids.
yeah,
So
yeah.
when you talk about miner, it makes sense, but it bugs me so much. And then Kybo Ren comes in with his like clearly World War One German infantryman
Yeah.
uniform. It's
Yeah.
just like, all right, we get it.
Yeah.
Germans are the bad guys from World War
Yeah.
One, and the pirate is literally wearing a spike German helmet.
My Okavar comes down to character designs as well, and it's the Manjalpa and his people, just like, I don't know what they're going for,
They
but
are
it's not
formless.
working.
It's probably super easy to draw and
I
animate
guess.
because there are no features.
They don't look cool, and they don't look, like, regal or royal, and they don't really look all that alien. They're just kinda, like, blue and have weird hair. I don't know. I just
Yeah,
nothing has, like, a slick '70s aesthetic like Star Wars always has. Like,
right.
even when you're kind of in, like, back world kinda thing, you still have that sort of '70s look, and these, are more 80s designs, but not really,
Mhm.
like, '80s cartoon designs, more like Jan Tosh looks like he's in some, like, Patrick Swayze kinda movie, with his, like,
It's something like
cutoffs and stuff, you know
like
what I mean?
fighting in the streets or like
Yeah,
something like
exactly.
the
Yeah,
Warriors 2,
he came from yeah,
like
I was gonna say exactly.
it's like
Yeah,
so
and it just doesn't look good.
it is a weird like amalgamation of like a bunch of different things in
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. See, for a show that had such a prolific action figure line, you'd think that they would want characters to look like toys that kids would want. And I think they do that with the ships and everything. But like,
Yeah.
do you want an Uncle Coal Miner action figure? Because I don't. And even like Jan Tosh is just like,
I
I
know.
don't know. I don't think I
I
want
know,
this extra from
it
Mad
looks like
Max, you know?
Ken mixed like meshed with Ryu, like
Yeah,
the
it's
he's
that's true.
still a Street Fighter dude.
Even with the weirdness, even with like some weird character designs, I feel like this was a very watchable and relatively entertaining series of
Yeah.
episodes. And I feel a lot happier now than I did after 6 months of trying to get through the other one. So well, okay. So I'm feeling a little bit more optimistic about
I
the
do.
rest of the droid's journey that we're gonna have here. But next time we're back on Endor, and it has been a while, covering Ewoks
Mm.
number 5, The Terrible Machine.
The Terrible Machine.
Sounds
Oh,
pretty.
yeah.
It sounds pretty terrible.
Sounds
What a
pretty
what a great
terrible.
way to ring in the new year, though. Happy New Year, my friend.
Yeah. Happy New Year. You had a good time at Christmas?
Of course, I
Oh, yeah.
did.
It's always relaxing.
Sure, sure. Christmas with a gaggle of kids.
Yeah.
It's a walk in the park. It's like
So
being at
much
a spa.
fun.
Yeah, super great, super
I mean,
great.
it is. I mean, you're not at work, so
That's true.
it's
That's a
yeah.
good point. Yeah.
I always have a good
Okay.
time at home. So,
Well, I will see you in the
all
new
right.
year.
I will see you then. This Endorian Life was brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network. Other shows on the network include 90s Music Got Me Like, previously on X-Men, and 9021 Here We Go! Share your thoughts on this and upcoming episodes by following us on Facebook or X at Endorian Life, and please rate, subscribe, and share the show wherever you get your podcasts.